minutes, Trunk.
Yes, but I didn't expect that you have to.
You said can
All right. What's up, everyone? So today, can you hear me all right?
I do, thanks.
Yeah, okay. I don't see
Thank
you,
you
buddy.
for inviting me.
Oh, I'm glad to. Yeah, the camera's not on there. There you go, man.
There I am.
Good looking guy like you, man. You got to be on here, right? Hey, I want to just thank you for jumping on today with us for the AMA. Man, what a week it has been. I was telling Tadeus before we started the live stream, I actually was making my list of stuff that we did in release this week. And I'm just going to recap it before the AMA because I think it's important that people know this. And if they don't make it any further than like a quarter of the way through the AMA, they've heard what we have really accomplished. So just this week alone, we announced our snapshot date for June the 15th for both Binance Smart Chain and Ethereum. Pretty damn excited about that. We launched a campaign for folding at home with over 25,000 flux up for grabs for miners and node operators. We launched our very first end user survey. So we're starting to get information back about the project and things that people would like to see. And I am thankful for everybody who participated in the survey. We listed on Gate.io, top 5 exchange people. You wanted exchanges, we're bringing you exchanges. How you like it? We also updated the new Flux OS that dropped. A big one that came out was Presearch, which is a decentralized search engine, can now run their nodes on the Flux network. So the first iteration is out, and people can stand up a Presearch node if they like. I believe there's some collateral requirements behind that, but as we continue to keep developing with that partner, I think you could see some really interesting things in the long run. We launched V3 of Divi Fetch with CoinMarketCap integration. So our decentralized Oracle Fetch continues to keep growing. So we now are inputting CoinMarketCap data into that as well. And if you keep a tight eye, there would be some updates coming in the next week on that one as well. We launched round 3 of the KuCoin trading competition. One of my favorites, we launched folding at home on a Raspberry Pi, which, by the way, is freaking awesome. So good work to Vulture on that one. We announced Dropaloo, which is a social media platform that's going to launch on Flux. We launched Knitter, which is essentially a Twitter without all the garbage. So if you haven't checked it out, I highly suggest you do it. Go up in the announcements, grab it. It's Twitter without the bullshit. So I love it. Get it. Check it out.
No ads.
Yeah, no ads at all. One of the other big things is we added the Coinbase Rosetta API to Flux. So not only did we add Rosetta to Flux, we actually went out and added their nodes to the Flux network as well. So Coinbase, if you're listening, Brian Armstrong, that's the first decentralized computational network at work for you. So take that into account. We submitted our Coinbase listing. For the very first time in the history of the project, we've had all of our pieces in that we need to submit that listing and see what comes of that. We launched in Zellcore. We launched Solana Summer. which is pretty amazing. Solana is a great project. We're looking forward to working with them in more deeper pieces as we continue forward. CoinX announced launching, so we added another top exchange. Guys, I don't know what you want from me. You know, I know everybody says win Binance, but hey, look, we're adding them left and right, so it's good stuff. One of the big, huge things was Coin Metro launched their staking, and we locked up over 2.5 million flux over in one day. Pretty. I mean, that is a big effing deal, man. Like, that is huge. And we also rolled out our new node watchdog. So this has been the week of releases and Trunk. So this will cap us off, and we'll answer some of these questions about the AMA. So I'm super excited about how things have really been advancing. And I would say we're not slowing down. If you take a look at GitHub, you'll get an idea of some of the things that we're getting ready to do. So all right, let's jump right into the AMA. So first one is submitted by Rome999. He says, is any idea if the Flux team has reached out to Coinly.io to have them change over from Zell to Flux for tax reporting purposes? That, yes, we have. I believe Ollie was taking care of that. He's going to continue to keep chasing them down, and we'll eventually get that updated. Taxes are important. Make sure that I don't know. There's a couple different programs out there that you can export your CSV information out of Zellcore, and you can really roll them into nice tax reporting software. It really works well. The Flux nodes participate in transaction validation as a second layer of security. The Flux node participate in the transaction validation as a second layer of security, or is the network protected by proof of work by Andreas 4? So I'll let you handle that one, Trunk.
The network is protected purely by proof of work. So the miners are the ones that produce blocks and validate the transactions. So block producers in Flux are purely miners.
So I think to expand on that question, I think what he's asking is as well, and maybe I'm wrong, do the nodes offer 51% attack protection, like as kind of like a fail safe? So
we should talk about what even 51% attack protection is, right? Everyone talks about 51%, and what it actually is, it is meant by deep blockchain reorganization. So you have some blockchain history, you have X amount of blocks, but if there is a high amount of hash rate on some chain that we don't know yet about, but the chain is broadcasted to the public chain, it can roll the blockchain 30, 50, 100 blocks into the past history and place those blocks. Flux has this deep reorganization protection set at 30 blocks. So if you see a transaction that happened more than 30 blocks ago, you can be rest assured that these transactions are very safe and cannot be reorganized. So if any exchange set their confirmation time at least 30 blocks, which is roughly 60 minutes, it cannot be hacked by 51% attack. So that's
we work with all of our exchanges to make sure that they're aware of that, and that is so. And so kind of the long and short is, proof of work continues to secure the network, and there is some fail safes there with the nodes as well, as long as we're proactive and not reactive to situations and engage exchanges as they list and make sure that their confirmations are within a certain time. That sound about right?
Yeah. Just use more than 30 blocks confirmations and you are safe. But every other chain that has some reorganization protection, so-called 51% attack protection, it is always this stopping some unwanted blockchain reorganizations. From technical point, we want the blockchain to be organizing little, let's say 1 block, 2 blocks. That's completely normal, because you don't know what you can listen to many peers, and the peers can submit the block at roughly the same time. So the reorganization is completely natural to the blockchain technology, but some people maliciously submit long reorganizations, which is not intended, right?
Gotcha.
So that's handled.
Gotcha. All right. I think that's a pretty good answer to that question. So the next question is going to come in. Actually, it was submitted by me, and I have no idea how I submitted it, but I did it. Hey, can you support Ycash and add to the wallet, please? So let's talk a little bit about upcoming ads. So we have been focusing on the big parts of Flux, essentially. So I can't really speak much for the Zellcore piece of it, what they're going to be listing, but I do know that on the radar we have some projects that we are looking at integrating, and our goal continues to be to integrate all the top assets. So, Trunk, you have any other info you want to add on that?
I do have info, but I don't want to spoil everything, right? So
yeah, don't do it, man. Don't do it. I need those announcements, man. These guys are announcement junkies. They need to see this shit.
Yeah, last week, or actually 3-4 days ago, we dropped quite a big update to Zellcore, which include not entire, but partial Solana ecosystem to our platform. So users now can transact not only Solana, but any SPL token, and you can also import any SPL token you want. So you had your Serum, you have your Cope, you have your Rope, you have many SPL tokens available on the network. And like we said in announcements on Twitter and other media, this is just the first iteration of our Solana ecosystem into Zellcore. And Solana is kind of interesting chain because of their very low confirmation times. You have a confirmation on transaction in roughly 400 milliseconds, so sub-second confirmation on transactions. And this was used by a project, many projects in DeFi, right? You can talk about Serum, you can talk about some yielding, farming. So I think I kind of said where the scope of our integration is heading, and you can feel it from what we are doing with what is already present in Zellcore, right? So we already have a couple of exchanges there, we already have a couple of staking there. So I think pretty exciting weeks are ahead of us.
Yep, I think so too. So I mean, I'm super excited about Solana as well. I mean, I got a chance to really dig into their ecosystem, and I got a nice little like crash course in what they're doing, and I really didn't understand it, but boy, I'll tell you, it's pretty powerful, and I'm looking forward to helping them out in many different ways.
Yeah, and actually today we launched something very interesting on Flux Network as well. It was launched by Walter, and we are talking about Kusama node, right? So that may be another hint where
there's Trump giving away all the goodies. Well, talk about that, because one of the questions that's going to be coming up, and I think it came from well, of course it came from DK, but he wanted to know a little bit about the Kasana, and I believe it was the I don't want to say it,
maybe
well, now you said it. That's okay. Yeah. What does that mean? I can give you my 10,000 foot view, and then you can go. Trunk is from my sole existence is to create these different use cases for this amazing network that's been built, right? So we look at projects that in the ecosystem that are doing something original, they're doing something that's engaging, and we want to make sure that we can engage their communities and give them resources where needed. So some of these things that you see added to the Flux ecosystem don't necessarily have a monetary value, but what they do have is the ability to do these cross-chain development pieces. So we want to incentivize them at some particular point in time, but sometimes, like Steve Jobs once said, people don't know what they want until you show them, right? So essentially what we're trying to do is showcase the network as it continues to grow and add some of these really kick-ass projects. Trump?
Yeah, and for us, the Kusama launch satisfied two things. One, showcase of Flux Network, actually three things, right? And secondly, Zellcore can be powered by the Flux Network in its infrastructure. So right now, we have our centralized nodes running Kusama, Polkadot, and other chains, and we can offload our centralized server to the Flux services. So
whoa, that's a big deal. That's a big deal, Trunk.
Sure.
That's an Anna right there. What are you doing? No, seriously, that's huge. So you're saying that we'll be able to use that back end to power
Yes.
Zellcore. That's fantastic.
Yes, yes. Zellcore is already using some of Flux infrastructure. So we are using the Flux network mainly for Cadena. So we have roughly 700 Cadena nodes on the Flux network. We have thousands of Flux nodes itself on the Flux network. And now we launch Kusama and others will follow. So Zellcore will not rely on its so-called team-centralized backend services or public services, but we rely also on this decentralized services such as Flux. So Zellcore will not be able to connect to just one node, two nodes, but can connect to 10, 15 load balance node and sort of ensure that the stability of that the availability of any chain is kind of unstoppable, right?
Yeah, and
so,
you know what was a great opportunity was the recent price dump in Bitcoin, where every single major exchange went down, right? And you know, for the past year, we've been pitching the idea and preaching the idea to some of these large players in the space about, you know, get some decentralized network, you know, get some backups. These things don't go down. And maybe it's by purpose. We don't know, but I can't speculate. But these decentralized pieces will start to help fix some of those problems that you're seeing with exchanges. And really, isn't that the iterative process we want to get to, is to not rely on any centralized provider, and that's really the goal. So that is good shit.
And it's also served the public purpose, right? Because Zellcore and the applications running on it are now completely publicly available. So anyone can join the Cadena infrastructure, anyone can join Kusama infrastructure and other chains popping up on the Flux network. So this also serves not only Zellcore and Flux itself, but other projects that they want to develop on other chains, right? Let's say you want to develop some decentralized application on Cadena or on Kusama or Ethereum. You can do it using Flux infrastructure, right? And don't stand up your own nodes. So that's sort of a goal to become Infura for other chains too.
Yeah, so that's a big damn deal. So we'll have to write a medium about that one. Okay, the next one is, and this will be for me, actually submitted by me. Again, how I did this, I have no idea. Well, other exchanges have staking. So you guys are, okay. You guys are aware that Coin Metro went live yesterday with their staking, and already they're well over 2 million in Flux and staking. Now normally, we always have a little bit of concern when we are very verbal about not your keys, not your crypto, and there's always inherent risk with anything like this. But I will tell you this. We were able to be participatory in the development process of the backend with Coin Metro. And you want to talk about professional development. These guys got it together. And there's a reason why I got so excited when we added Coin Metro to our arsenal. These guys built a very logical and very developed back-end process that it does utilize Zellcore as their control wallet. So, I would say if you want to participate in the ecosystem and you're not risk adverse and you're going to keep your coins on an exchange anyway, put them somewhere where they can make an ARP, you know what I mean? Somewhere where they can make some money back. So do I see other exchanges adding this feature? I do. I believe that as this continues to develop out, but for now, I think Coin Metro is going to be leading the way, and I think it's going to be awesome. Yep. Okay, so hold on 1 second, please.
So while we're waiting,
all right. Sorry, the garage door was messed up, and my wife was trapped in the house, and she couldn't get out. So I had to help her out really quickly. Oh man, only in the middle of a live stream, right? That's how we go. Go ahead, Trunk. I didn't want to interrupt you there.
Yeah, I wanted to go back to the infrastructure, right? From Zellcore perspective and from Flux perspective. So as Zellcore is growing, the amount of requests we are having on our infrastructure is getting higher and higher. So we as infrastructure maintainer for Zellcore are facing some difficulties in scaling, right? We are way over 1 million of requests on Ethereum per day itself. The same amount can be told about other cryptocurrencies. So we have some experience with scaling our infrastructure, and but it cannot be done indefinitely in a centralized manner and not paying more. So our focus of Zellcore Infra is shifting towards utilizing this Flux network to be more scalable and to serve better data and even more reliably and even more faster, which is interesting, right? Because Flux network is spread around the globe. You have nodes in US, Asia, Europe, all over the world. But Zellcore Infra is kind of centralized. So you are always connecting to one certain location, which is not great for you. So Flux is here to fix sort of decentralized infrastructure for Zellcore and be better performant as well.
Yeah, and I mean, really, honestly, Trunk, that goes back to when we were sitting around talking about how we were going to develop Flux out, and we said, "What's our use case?" And the first thing that came out of your mouth was Zellcore. So that's,
yeah.
I mean, you know, we're it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. So we said we were going to do it, and we're working on it, and we're going to do it. So that's all good stuff. But you having the vision very early on and saying, yeah, this is something we can do and we can power in a decentralized way. That was a big deal. And that's what we've been working forward to. So we're at about the 20-minute mark. So we're going to do a couple quick ones here. So have you got an answer from Coinbase about listing? And that was submitted from Actorolus. No. And every single exchange goes in their own time. I never get an answer until they're ready to list us, just about. And today's can validate this. We'll be in the 11th hour of doing something, and somebody will come in and be like, "Hey, we need the instructions on how to add Flux to an exchange," and we have a prepared document. We send them, and they're like, do. So our guess is they're adding us. So I mean, we never know till they're ready. So I would say you'll see something. I mean, they're probably every shitcoin in the entire world is trying to get listed on Coinbase at this point in time. So hopefully they go through them and they throw them all out and they get to the ones that are legally reviewed. They have their security pieces in place. They have the reporting structure in place. They have all the Rosetta API integration in place. And if they have all that, then I think you can get added. So we have all those things. Have we got it added? Okay. Can you share any update on adding more storage to the nodes and getting reward for it? Any other developments or ideas around the other node types? So I'll answer a little bit of that, what I know, and then you take the rest of it, Trunk. So essentially our adjustment to the nodes, and when we rebranded and went from Zell to Flux, was to identify an opportunity for our storage nodes. We are going to continue to keep developing projects and engage projects, and you don't have to go far to look around. If you stroll through GitHub, you can see some of the projects we're looking at and vetting to see whether or not we're going to be able to use them. But essentially, as we begin to ramp that storage piece up, there will be a reward structure that will be put in place. I don't know what that looks like yet. We've allocated funds for that, so that make sure that we can take care of that in our economic model. But it's one of those things where I'd say if I had to put a projection to it, it's going to be Q3. It's going to be Q4 of this year. Trunk.
Yeah, we talked with a couple of projects. And as Daniel said, if you scroll to GitHub, you can see some efforts, solutions we try to put on Flux. And we are still working on some, right? We had I think 4 projects in mind that can be utilized for this. Some of them were close, some of them were more far, and yeah, that's kind of it, right?
Yeah.
Right now there is Q3, Q4 maybe a good target. Yes, some of our partners were not yet ready to scale on Flux, So we'll see
as always, we're pushing the envelope, right? So we get in with these projects and they're developing their ecosystem and they're looking at how they want to scale appropriately. And then all of a sudden, here comes these guys, right? And they have an answer for external scaling. They want to, interchain operability. Well, how the hell am I going to work with that? I don't even know how to scale my own project yet. More or less gets scaled with another one. So a lot of the pieces that we do them independently, so that's a great thing about open source. That's a great thing about, crypto in general is if you want to do it, you can do it. You just got to go out and you got to build the infrastructure. So, Trunk's famous words are, yeah, we can do that, and he figures it out. He builds it, right? So, and it's great. I mean, even with the Solana ad, that was a heavy lift. And I can tell you, I know very little bit about it, but what I do know and what I have seen was Trunk building a lot of stuff to make sure that this was a really good integration. So we'll continue to keep doing those things. That was submitted by Signal One Crypto, by the way. Are there any rewards planned for Flux mining in the future? And that was added by Neil. So Neil, the answer to your question is if you were at some point, we are in beta on the miner reward program on the labs pool. Essentially, we will be passing that once that beta period has been up. I would give it a couple months and look at it, make sure it gets suggestions, because we're getting suggestions from miners on what they'd like to see and what deliverables they need to deliver, uptime, snapshots, things like that. And then what we're going to do is we're going to engage the remainder of the pool operators for that to launch this program. So this is a funded program by the foundation. So we're going to make sure we incentivize miners, because one of the questions coming up, we're going to talk a little bit about when ETH goes to ETH 2.0 and what that means for miners. And we're going to talk about that because we want to be the viable, legitimate option for people to move to. And I believe we will be. Did you want to add anything else about that today, Ish?
I would just add that since our recent last fork on the block hit 825,000, Flux added something that's called, we call it parallel mining. So every Coinbase transaction, which consists of the miner reward, so usually your pool, and reward for Cumulus, reward for Nimbus, and a reward for Stratus node, all those pieces are eligible for 10% of the block of the reward on other chains, such as Cadena, such as this Ethereum, such as Binance Smart Chain. So if you are mining currently Flux, you will also receive 10% of the what stuff you mined on other chains.
Shit,
so
Trunk, you're
double.
Stealing all my thunder.
Sorry.
Keep going. No, that's okay. It's good. Whoever came to this meeting, they're getting the full behind the scenes. So that's good. Let's do it. Keep going though. Sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah, so since the fork, we are tracking all the Coinbase transactions that happen on the network and are monitoring who is eligible for what amount, and if it's a miner, if it's a node operator. So yeah, this option will soon become available in Zellcore in the Fusion application to claim your mining rewards on these parallel chains. So essentially, we will have 10 chains, 10 other chains next to the main chain. So if your reward is 25 Flux per blocks, then it actually is 44 because you will be eligible for 2.2 Flux on Cadena, 2.2 Flux on Ethereum, and so on. So this makes mining quite profitable, right? if you count that.
Well, the concept of dual mining or parallel mining is not an old one. I mean, we go back to where you could dual mine. I think it was ETH and Decred at one particular point in time, in the proof of work atmosphere. This takes this to a whole different level. It means these interchain operability and what you're doing between these different chains, they all come back to center with Flux. So Flux, if you're mining Flux, you're getting rewards on those parallel assets, those parallel chains. It makes mining and node operation very lucrative for individuals participating in the network. And that's not even talking about the applications that we launch, such as Cadena and things like that. So, I mean, this is and honestly, and I'll be straight up honest, when Trunk was explaining this to me, it took me a little bit to understand it. And I was like, oh shit, you mean that every single asset we're adding as parallel assets, it's interchain operability, we're going to receive a piece of that. And he says, yeah. I'm like, that's heavy stuff, man. That's heavy stuff. So hopefully we can get what to mine to figure out how to add those pieces, because that's the biggest thing is, you have education of end users that this is even a thing, which I think will be a push within the next few weeks, as we kind of formalize it, and then let them understand, wow, I'm not only making Flux, I'm making Flux KDA, I'm making Flux Binance Smart Chain, I'm making Flux ETH, I'm making it, which is essentially pegged to Flux. So it's hella rewarding. Okay, that's great. Good question. After the Flux BNB and ETH distribution, what will be next? And that's by Signal Crypto again.
What to make it?
Take it? You want to take it? You take it. You do it.
Well, it's kind of broad question what will be next, because there is so many things happening on Zellcore and so many things happening on Flux. So we have obviously we plan to launch one chain per month. So you can kind of imagine what chain we will be on. Since this Solana integration, you can kind of see where we probably are heading, right? We also have some Tron interest and other chains. So that may be, it's still not decided what chain will be next to launch, but we also need to develop Fusion more, so you can actually claim the mining rewards, and you can actually swap between the chains one-to-one from main chain to ETH chain and so on.
Yeah. That's Fusion is a big deal, and you'll be able to do that right out of Zellcore. And we had a couple questions, and I can address them now. Is, people said, when are we going to release the KDA, Flux KDA on their decks? We're really dependent, as we work with some of these projects, on their development on their side. So your Flux KDA is there, and it's ready for liquidity once they launch their decks. I believe you'll see within the next month or so. I think they're really rapidly working on iterating that DEX model over there. And I think that you'll be able to see that. As far as the ETH goes and Binance Smart Chain, the snapshot is the 15th. And then but between the point where we take the snapshot and we release Fusion, we will be in the process of adding Uniswap, PancakeSwap, all these different, DeFi aspects as well. So you're going to see Flux really be added to the DeFi space very quickly, in preparation for the release of Fusion, so that people can then go right to these DeFi projects and they can begin to trade, they can begin to do whatever, or they can bring it back to the Flux main chain and they can stand up more infrastructure. So my anticipation is the majority of the individuals that are holding these different assets will end up back on the main chain and end up in nodes and infrastructure. So I'm pretty excited about that. Okay. The next one is with ETH 2.0 coming out, a lot of hash power will be available. What are the thoughts on this and how miners can support Flux and be rewarded for their loyalty? Well, we just talked about that a little bit, and I think that is very, very, very important. I think that we continue to keep working to add miners as much as we add node operators. I mean, I think it's a very important part of our ecosystem. And we do that by a couple different ways: the rewards program, parallel mining now, and really reaching out to the decentralized. There's been some projects launched recently that are in the cloud internet computing space that are completely centralized, and we are by definition decentralized. So it's like a compare and contrast kind of thing, and making sure that those miners are participating. I mean, miners are getting a real knock right now, right? Elon comes out and says about green. I would say the majority, and as a miner myself, I used renewable energy. We set up next to a nuclear power plant, and we were glad to use the excess energy. I've been in some of the largest Bitcoin mining operations in North America, and each one of them had one thing in common. They used off-peak energy for mining and had negotiations with their electric companies. If peak usage time came up, that they would actually idle the rigs as it went through their peak time. These are things that Elon and his council, they're not taking into consideration. And I hope that the Bitcoin mining community steps up. And I can tell you, the Flux community, we are already looking at, different carbon neutral pieces. But with our kind of hybrid setup, that's our goal. We don't demonize our miners. We actually invite them. And as a matter of fact, when we were, changing our algo and everything else, we said we need to be allowed to but people with 4 gig cards to mine. It is absolutely imperative. And our commitment to those miners, it stays the same today as it did 3 years ago. We will continue to keep doing what we have to do to keep this project decentralized, because that is the future. As these projects come out and they have centralized components to them and they're controlled by large VC funds, big players in the space, it's no different than the standard infrastructure that's out there today. Right? AWS, Google, Microsoft, we have to be the antithesis. We have to be the competitor to those particular things, because we are decentralized and that's in our ethos. So I'm going to get off that soapbox now. What else do you want to add, Drog?
I like
a little lost there.
When you sorry. I just like when you touch the inefficiency of Bitcoin mining or any cryptocurrency mining, right? I've been in the space for a while, and folks that been here, let's say 2010, 11, may remember the famous conversation on Bitcoin Talk Forum when there was Satoshi Nakamoto explaining actually that Bitcoin is very efficient in its self-purpose, right? And people arguing with him. And I have this screenshot saved of Gridcoin. I don't actually know who it is, but his nickname was GRIDECON, and in the end he wrote some nice piece that I think I can just quote him, because it's very nice and I agree with it. So I will just say, I will quote him. So he says, "I am now inclined to think that Bitcoin is in fact high efficient rather than inefficient. My thinking now is that Bitcoin does not, in fact, waste computational work at all. Instead, it works hard to deliver the most value possible from that computational work. Something like a government-issued fiat currency may not have any obvious energy burden beyond its printing, but in fact, maintaining the value of a fiat currency requires a substantial investment in maintaining police, enforcement, legal system, and national defense. In comparison to the energy cost of hiring police officers to enforce economic honesty, the energy cost of investing some CPU cycles in guaranteeing the honesty mathematically seems very small." So this is a great example of someone actually understanding both the systems we live in now and the system of cryptocurrency, and comparing the efficiency of it, right? So Bitcoin doesn't need some centralized authority to maintain it. That cost quite some money, right? Quite some energy behind it. So
That's
energy is not just like burning coal or like that, but it's actually human energy as well, right?
Yeah.
Human resources.
Well, I mean, essentially, if you look at what Satoshi Nakamoto was explaining, it's a necessary evil. You have to have computational resources. You have to have effort, electric, time, infrastructure. I mean, I built a pretty massive mining farm, and let me tell you something. It is not easy, right? There is a ton of work that goes into it. A labor of love, nonetheless. But there are other options out there, and that you were alluding to, and the proof of stake models or things like that. Those are still centralized and controlled. You know what I mean? And I think we all will always need our miners to really truly be a proof of work project, and make sure that the value is backed by something. So yeah, I agree with you. That's a great quote, and if you could send that to me, I want to keep that.
Will do. Yeah, proof of work.
Yeah.
For future.
Well, yeah, lots of people ask me, they're like, Dan, are you ever going to consider dropping the proof of work side of the house? And my answer is always emphatically no. now that doesn't mean that somewhere down the road in 2 or 3 years that there isn't some new emerging technology we haven't even seen yet, right? Or we develop something ourselves. We've talked about developing out the Flux chain in a different way. You know, maybe we change something, but our miners are always going to be at home and involved in the process. So, you know, all right, that's good. So now we're going to do a little bit of a speed round because we've got a lot of questions to get through.
Sorry.
No, not you, man. It's me. I talk too much. Have you been pleased so far with the exchange launches to date? Are you having the desired effect? I think the desired effect is the fact that we've hit all-time high 3 times within the past several months. We've been as high as 41 cents, and then it isn't the all-time high that gets me excited. It's the consolidation that happens after the ATH as you watch the rest of the market. It's fairly flat, big losses, and we continue just to fight back right into it. So I would say the individuals that are here in the project are here to stay. You know, it was very exciting to see us hit, you know, that all-time high. And I think that, you know, that has a lot to do with the fact that we've really been aggressive with going out and pushing what Flux is, why it's valuable, and why and how the community continues to kind of be involved in it. So yeah, yes, it is having the effect that we anticipated, and there will be more as we go. So, you know, our goal, frankly, we've added some really good mid-tier exchanges. Top tier exchange, Gate, one of the top 5 exchanges in the world. CoinEx, great platform. If you've ever used it, I love it. It's great, easy to use. You know, and Coin Metro just continues to keep developing just awesome shit. So, you know, I think it's the exact effect that we were looking for. Okay, let's get one for Trunk. When will the XDAO be available?
Oh, I'm not sure if you even explained how XDAO works.
This is the speed round.
Did we do that? Oh, yeah. This is the speed round.
I did too. They got the 10,000 foot view. We do have at some point to release, you know, the voting tiers and who gets what votes and things like that. So I think we probably want to work on that within the next few weeks. But go ahead.
So very 10,000 overview. XDAO works that someone submits an application to the network, a registration hash that is broadcasted on the network. Node operators receive it. They got notification. Their Zell ID is connected to their node, so they can simply sign a message in Zellcore if they want to agree with it or disagree, and they have to do it in certain amount of time since when the application was proposed. If there isn't again many rejections against it, the application will be spawned on the network. So that's 10,000 overview. When it will be available this year.
I think the big question is, I know there's been a fairly large submission from the community about marketing, and I think we're going to do something, the first iteration, which is very simple, yes, no voting for that. I think you're going to see that within the next month or so that we can make sure that we get input on releasing those funds for the marketing and PR campaigns. So yeah, and Bad English T, who has been in the community for a very long time, is the one that submitted that. So he actually submitted the very first proposal to the platform. So congratulations to Bad English T. All right. So does Flux have the ability to load balance across nodes, or does it need to be an external load balancer? And that's submitted by Crimbo.
Another one for me. Great. So Flux itself, we are talking about the nodes, does not have a built-in load balancer, because that's kind of difficult to do in terms of how current domain system works, right? So domains are centralized, right? SSL certificates are sort of centralized. So what Flux has is so-called Flux Domain Manager, and this is an external piece to Zellcore. It's not part of the network, but it's a software that connects directly to the Flux network. So anyone can run this Flux Domain Manager. It's live, publicly available, open source, and you can put it on some VPS, your centralized server, and run this Flux Domain Manager. And what it does, it's essentially a load balancer. It's an H proxy configurator. So it scans the entire Flux network from I think 10 peers and grabs what application is running where and checks if the application is running properly. And if it does, it goes as a backend server to the load balancer. So Flux has this load balancing, has domains, has SSL certificates, but this sort of is not decentralized, right? It's not a backup solution. We are still looking how to do it in a decentralized way, more nicely, but it's kind of hard with current tools. You can make it more reliable by using DNS balancing, so having this FDM running on 2 or 3 servers, but yeah, it's still a little centralized piece to load balance this across domains.
Oh, I'm glad you know what the hell you're talking about, because that was just like seriously foreign. So I think it sounds good. No. I mean, there's people on we got like 50 people watching this thing, and they're going to be glad that you were able to explain that. So what I got out of that is we have our own version of of load balancing now, and we're going to continue to iterate so that we can get a more decentralized process. See how correct. I can condense that stuff and just spit it back right now. Okay, that was good. Good question, Jimbo. He also asks, what are the approach to make nodes more stable in the future? And I'm gonna just put this out here. Flux is an iterative project. If you are in the space, we are going to break shit. That's just the way it is. Node operators need to understand we've given them tools, watchdogs, pieces to bring their nodes back online. The majority of individuals, if their node goes down, they can get it back online very quickly. So these are high reward nodes. And essentially, if you look at what you're making per node, there's no node like that anywhere ever. And our requirement from the community that stands up this infrastructure is to be understanding when we mess something up. So if we're not breaking it, it isn't tech. We've got to grow it. So the answer to the question is there's really no plan to make them more stable. Actually, there's a plan to get them more unstable. We're going to continue to keep working and iterating and developing. And we need node operators as partners. So obviously it behooves us to test these things before they are released. And we don't like the nodes going down at all, right? And we're always scrambling. So the less scrambling, the better. We do have a review process that's a very deep review process now, so that what we release into the wild doesn't go out and jack everybody's nodes up. So we're going to continue to keep working on that. But if we're not breaking it, it isn't tech. And our node operators, our decentralized systems administrators are what make us decentralized and make us different from every other bullshit project out there that says that they're going to be the decentralized internet. And I want everybody to remember that you're part of that process. So you are a big deal. And I'll get back off my soapbox. So sorry, I can't give you a better answer than that, Trimbo, but that is what it is. So, man, Trimbo asks a lot of questions.
Yeah, Flux has a lot of moving pieces, right? The daemon, the benchmark, the Flux itself, and Flux itself, the operating system, so we call it, does a lot of stuff, right? It does complete installation modules, complete compilation. So that piece will probably be offloaded. So maybe we will ship a precompiled version of Flux instead of compiling on a node, which should make it more stable. We are constantly looking to improve the installation process and everything. And hopefully soon we will be available.
Yeah. Okay, the next one also comes from Trimbo, and it says, are there any plans to bring the naming convention of Zellcore in line with the rest of Flux? And I can answer that, and that is no. We are going to remain Zellcore, powered by Flux. I think that they're really, if you look at them and what they're doing in development, we have multiple developers working on Zellcore. We have multiple developers working on Flux. they are a symbiotic ecosystem. In other words, Flux requires Zellcore and Zellcore requires Flux, but rebrands in the traditional sense for crypto, man, I can tell you right now, when we went through the rebrand from Zell to Flux, that was a pain in the ass. It was a pain in the ass. And we have brand recognition with Zellcore, and we have grown exponentially on that side of the house. So changing that name or moving it to be more in line with Flux, just not on their roadmap, which, by the way, we will be releasing a roadmap coming up soon for the Zellcore side of the house. Anything you want to add there, Trunk?
Yeah, no more renames.
Okay. Yeah, no more renames. Yeah, they suck. Are there any thoughts for tier 4 powerful Flux nodes with a larger collateral? I already have found the name. Cirrus is the highest cloud in the atmosphere, and that was added by Andreas 4. I would say that there's nothing in the plans in the future that we're looking at, but we will not rule out, we've had Blonde Frogs, Jeremy Anderson, who is kind of the architect of some of those things. We've talked about, as we get institutions coming into the platform, there may be a need for a very high level infrastructure node, one that we can't even imagine yet. So, I'm not saying we rule it out. Is it something that's going to happen today or tomorrow? Probably not. But we're never going to rule it out. Trunk, you can.
Yeah, I would just add to it that this is touching how Flux scales, and Flux currently scales with 2 ways. One, we can enforce higher requirements from nodes. So instead of 2 cores, we require 4 cores, 6 cores, and so on, or more RAM. And second scale of Flux is by decreasing the collateral length for standing up a node. So one thing expands as vertically, another thing expands horizontally, and Flux kind of needs both, right? If you put a big collateral, that sort of decreases the overall computational power and decreases amount of nodes. So that's kind of against scaling idea, but there is a need for highly computational node that has, let's say, 32 cores, right? Hundreds of gigabytes of RAM. So I don't know if that will be the way Flux will be heading and to support this massive applications, but yeah, it's not ruled out yet.
Yeah, and that's a great explanation, Trunk. And I don't really at times think about that, but conceptually, the node halvening that we talked about years ago, and being able to scale really infinitely as we kind of move out. The ultimate goal is to reduce the lockup, to increase the network development. And if you ever want to answer a question, will people do that? If a node becomes, instead of 100,000, if it becomes 50,000, but we're duplicating that in terms of computational resources, would people lock them up? The answer that I believe is an emphatic yes, because we've seen these individuals continue to keep participating in the network. And the number one question I get is, when can I get my Flux KDA? Because I want to stand up another node. so I'm excited. I'm excited for that as well. So that was a good answer there. That was submitted by Carimbro, however you say it. Sorry, buddy, if I butchered it. Is there work happening to target specific apps to be hosted on Flux? Would be amazing to see some big DeFi products using it for hosted. DeFi plus Deco added by Carimbro again. Yes, we are in. Yeah, this guy loves questions, man. We are always in talks with different projects, right? So, but our ultimate goal right now is to continue to keep creating these use cases for Flux, right? Some of the big players in the space, they're doing these partnerships just as a namesake. So we're going to work with who, And how are we going to do that? Well, there's nothing working. There's a proof of concept in place, maybe, maybe some bullshit code that they've thrown in there. And now they have this partnership. We're not looking for partnerships that are just going to, inflate the price and disturb the network growth. What we're going to do is we're look for logical partners in the space who are developing them. And are they top 100 projects? Of course they are. Are there projects? I can tell you, I can pull the curtain back just a little bit since Trunk let some stuff out today. We're already working with 10 different projects in an incubation lab that are looking to launch on Flux. You're going to see these projects come in and they're going to grow. They're going to be approved by the network and they're going to be developed out. Those are the kind of things that we want to continue to keep doing. One of the things that we added with Knitter and folding and all these other things are we're continuing to build the use case why our decentralized infrastructure is so valuable. So the long answer to that question is yes, we are working with larger businesses, not only in the blockchain space, but the technology space. But one of the things you have to remember with new and emerging and disruptive technology is you got to prove yourself. You got to prove what you can do. You can state it, but you have to prove it. In the technology sector, not necessarily the blockchain sector. It's a white paper and a fucking proof of concept and a dream. But when you are working to bring on people that have high demands and need standard SLAs, service models, you got to make sure that you can provide that infrastructure. So that's what we're working to do right now and continue to keep developing that out. We talked about the parallel assets earlier, so we're not going to hit that one. Will you be able to swap out the next distro? We talked about that one. What are the reasons for apps such as KSM and DOT? We did talk about them. DK, you probably wanted a more in-depth explanation what the benefit was, but essentially what we want to do is prove that this interchain operability is viable. Work with logical people that are in the space. They are aware of the things we're doing and they're following it very closely. So we're going to keep doing those particular items. DK also asked, and Trunk, you can probably talk about this. How do I earn pre-search? Instruction state that we stake 1,000 pre-token or more to earn, but how to use pre-search nodes on Flux to do so. And that's DK.
So we launched pre-search as a global application on the Flux network. So we registered according to the specifications to support the project. Our initial idea was a bit different, allow it to be as a local application, installable and have staking on it. But we misunderstood the concept of pre-search and how the staking actually operates. So we changed the scope of the application from local to global and just launch it to support the pre-search network. We also plan to have pre-search as a local application, but this requires adjustments in Flux to allow modification of environmental parameters of the application. Because Flux, when there is an application, it is sort of immutable. You cannot change anything. But pre-search requires modification of those parameters per node specific. So this will come later when we sort of fork the Flux network with an update to target this specification changes. So not yet possible.
So like with every other technology that we're adding to the platform, it's always iterative. And, we have plans to keep developing that out. So DK, the answer to your question is we're working on it.
It's being worked on.
Yeah, we're working on it. But I think the awesome part is, a lot of these projects are going to be iterative. They're going to come out. We talked about the 10 different companies that are 10 different projects that want to work or in our incubation model. They're not going to be finished projects when they launch. They're going to continue to keep iterating just like we do and grow with the network. So that was a good explanation. Thank you, Trunk. When is the XDAO getting released? We already talked about that for the marketing funds. Ali submitted that. So we'll try to get something out for that first iteration of the XDAO here within the next few, like month or so. AMA, are there major events to attract more people? Look, man, I don't think we can get more aggressive than we are. This list reads like, I just can't even. The team that worked on this, and I want to thank every single one of the team members: Trunk, Parker, Frogs, Volter, X4, Vader, all these guys that have really stepped up and jumped in and said, let's kick ass and take names. This list doesn't get shorter. This list gets longer. So, I think by proving what we are doing and, the marketing, there's like, they call them the Flux Army. And I'm looking at these engagements, man, and I love it. I love to see our people out there engaging in a thoughtful and educational process, right? So we need to make sure, especially when we're approaching individuals who are stating they can do particular items, or we're being factual about what we're stating. We need to be respectful of that. We need to be kind, and we need to be engaging. Because I will tell you, we do not have competition. We have opportunity. And if we can work together to develop that opportunity, and this goes out to every single application that's working on developing decentralized models that are truly decentralized models, we will work with you. You reach out to us. We talk to you. We're willing to be participatory. We have strength in numbers. We create opportunities. So, Flux Army, you guys are doing a kick-ass job. I love it. I love what you're doing. I love what you're going out and really being engaged with people, and it opens opportunities for us. So there's always some major events, but we can't always talk about them. So, and the last question of the AMA comes from Ali as well, and I think this actually came from Little Stash, if I'm not mistaken, is when Minecraft server on Flux. Tadesh, when are we going to do it, man?
Yeah, we already researched it. There are Docker images available to launch Minecraft server on Flux. There is one we can launch basically immediately, but that one is not the one that people sort of use to play Minecraft on your desktop or your mobile. It's targeted as a Java. I really don't much understand, but the big Minecraft server that people truly want and would appreciate has one crucial parameter that Flux is missing in specifications, and that is UDP support for ports. So Flux applications can only utilize TCP, and we have TCP bindings. So we need to update Flux specifications to third iteration to support UDP and more wild stuff. So it will not happen until we update Flux network as a whole.
Okay, well, there's your answer. So all the Minecrafters out there, just hang tight. So I think that really honestly would be a very cool use case. And I think it was, I think we had actually called the FluxyCraft group that talked about it and kind of brainstormed with it. So, and I agree. I think that we need to launch the product that people will use. So, I'm looking forward to that. We'll put it on the radar. All right. Last 5 minutes, guys. If you have anything, you can toss it up in chat. I'm looking at it right now. Somebody wants to know if we can splurge for a little better camera for Trunk. Poor guy, man. He catches such shit. So yeah, we're not poor. He can put it on the business. And so just get him a nice camera. That's nice.
I'm on desktop, and desktop doesn't have a camera, so I use mobile phone for teleconferencing. Yeah.
So when a live debate between Daniel and the ICP people, I've said it before and I said it again. We don't have competition, but I would personally pay $5,000 USD to any charity for them to come on and discuss the fundamental impact of centralized, decentralized, and how these different projects can work. So, I mean, if you had an opportunity to recently see I think it was CZ and the guy from FTX kind of went at it a little bit, and it was fun to see. In the end, they were very respectful to each other, and a lot of people learned a lot about both those projects. So I extend that invitation to anybody that is in the decentralized computational space. If you want to come on and you want to talk about the value of your project and how we can work together, I'm all about it. I'm all about it. So yeah, I'd love to see that, and I'd pay to see it. All right. Any other questions? Let me see. Just scroll up through here. A lot of people are excited about parallel mining. Okay, Tom asked the question, how will Flux bring large players to build on top of the Flux ecosystem and steer them away from big tech? So we talked a little bit about that, and I don't necessarily think that big tech will ever go away. I think there is a symbiotic relationship between centralized infrastructure, AWS, Microsofts, and Googles of the world, and the new decentralized models such as Flux. I think really what it does is presents opportunities. I'll give you a perfect example is Dropaloo. Dropaloo is going to be a social media piece, has particular facets to it that play well to decentralization. It doesn't track your information, doesn't exploit your search histories, things like that. So I think as we continue to see these projects build out, there's going to be this hybrid world where I see projects that look at centralized infrastructure but use these decentralized models as a backup. Perfect, for instance, is Coinbase. If you're listening, we would love to help you out with your back end. We would love to help develop out. We'll keep you up when prices are up or down. If you're willing to do it, we're willing to do it too. And if you don't believe that we can do it, we put Rosetta API right on Flux. So anyone that wants to engage with us and talk about creating an opportunity to truly be a decentralized, if you're in a decentralized space and you're talking shit about how you're decentralized, yet you go down in the middle of a high demand process, you're not decentralized enough. So come talk to us. We will talk to you. So anyone, Gemini, Kraken, Coinbase, Binance, you guys, we'll run your validator nodes. Come over here. The water's fine. So yeah, we're looking for different opportunities like that all the time. All right, guys, we went about 6 minutes over. And so I get to the last minute to just, and then I'll hand it off to Trunk to say anything he wants to say. But again, I want to thank the team. The team has been, normally I start out by thanking the community, and I always thank the community. But this week here and what we have completed and what we have done was absolutely the team. As a community-based project, to release this much shit in 1 week is outstanding. And we continue to keep cranking it out. So, and I also want to thank the community as well. You guys have been highly supportive. You believe in the project. You believe in decentralization. Flux Army, welcome aboard. I'm glad you guys are out there, spreading the word about Flux and what we're doing. I think the education piece is highly, highly imperative. And I think you'll see in the next coming weeks, we'll probably do another, not AMA style, but actually a community presentation. And we're going to recap and we're going to look at what's going on in the future as well. And I believe you'll probably see that roadmap from Zellcore also in that. So again, thank you to everybody participating in the project. Trump?
Yeah, thank you everyone who has joined us today, listening, and big thanks to the community for supporting us and bringing new ideas. Yeah, I always like the new ideas pieces, right? If you have something to say, please come and join. If you want to something to improve on Flex or Zellcore, please come join to Discord and present your ideas, your thoughts. we always like to hear
You know,
even complaints, right? Everything.
Trunk, and I just want to say to you, you know, and I tell you this all the time. You know, the fact that you can come into Discord, ask a question, and receive an answer from the engineer, the technician behind the infrastructure, right? And it's an honest and open answer, is unlike any other project I've ever been in or seen, right? And I've been participating in the crypto space for a long time, right? You are always welcoming, you're always inviting, and you always take the time for people. I don't know how you do it sometimes, because you think I'm popular and get a lot of DMs. I can only imagine what your DMs look like. It's probably a bloody mess. But thank you for always, you know, being such a big piece of the project. So thank you for coming on today. Really do appreciate it. And thank everyone. We had a lot of people watch us today. So I'm really happy with that. So everybody have a good weekend. Be safe. And let's build the future today. Have a good day.
Have a good day. Bye.
Bye. Crap. There it goes.